The Interstellar Academy floated in silent beauty above a blue-white gas giant, its silver halls filled with students from dozens of species. Some were tall and scaled, others winged, some glowing faintly with bioluminescent skin. It was a place where the future leaders of the galaxy were trained, tested, and judged. Among them sat a human boy named Eli Carter. He was seated near the back of the lecture hall, hands folded on the desk, posture straight but relaxed. Compared to the others, he looked small, fragile even. His bones were thinner, his muscles less defined, his skin soft and unarmored. No claws, no fangs, no natural weapons at all. Many eyes noticed this. Some stared with curiosity, others with amusement, and some with open mockery. Lyra Vex sat several rows ahead, her long tail coiled neatly around her chair. Her species was known for strength and speed, evolved on a high-gravity world with violent storms and powerful predators. Her skin had a natural metallic sheen, and her eyes reflected light sharply, like polished glass. She was top of the class. When the instructor spoke about survival rankings of known species, Lyra barely listened. She already knew her place, near the top. Then the instructor's voice paused. "And now," the instructor said calmly, "we acknowledge our newest transfer student. Species human, origin, Sol system, planet Earth." A soft ripple of sound moved through the room. Lyra turned her head slowly. Her eyes landed on Eli. She blinked once, then twice. That was it? She expected something else. A hidden exoskeleton, enhanced limbs, something. But he was just a boy. A quiet laugh escaped her before she could stop it. Others joined in. "Earth?" someone whispered. "That low-tech world? I heard humans needed machines just to survive their own planet. Didn't they almost wipe themselves out?" Lyra leaned toward her friend, her voice low but sharp. "Is this some kind of mistake? He wouldn't last a day on my home world." Her friend smirked. "Maybe they brought him as a lesson. What happens when weak species aim too high?" The instructor did not respond to the laughter. He simply continued the lecture. Eli heard everything. He always did. But his face did not change. He stared at the screen in front of him, eyes steady, breathing calm. His heart rate stayed low, trained by years of controlling fear and stress. He had learned early that reacting gave people what they wanted. Silence was better. After the lecture, the students moved into the main hall. Groups formed naturally, species sticking to their own, strength drawn to strength. Eli walked alone. Lyra watched him as she stood with her group. He moved carefully but not nervously. His steps were light, measured, like someone used to watching where he walked. She felt an odd irritation. He should look scared. She stepped forward. "Human," she called out. Eli stopped and turned. "Yes?" he said. His voice was calm, polite. Lyra looked down at him. She was taller, broader, stronger in every visible way. "Do you know where you are?" she asked. "The academy," Eli replied. A few students nearby slowed to listen. "This place isn't designed for your kind," Lyra said. "The training here breaks species stronger than you. You'll slow everyone down." Eli considered her words for a moment. "I'll try not to," he said. That was it. No argument, no anger. Someone laughed. Lyra frowned. "Try?" she repeated. "This isn't a game. You don't have the biology for this." Eli met her eyes. "We'll see," he said simply. Then he nodded once and walked away. Lyra stood frozen for a second, her tail flicking sharply behind her. He didn't challenge her. He didn't beg. He didn't even look embarrassed. That annoyed her more than fear ever could. Over the next few days, Eli became a quiet presence in the academy. He spoke only when spoken to. He followed instructions perfectly. His test scores were average, not impressive, not terrible. Lyra kept noticing him. During physical training, he struggled with raw-strength tasks, as expected. But when exercises involved balance, timing, or problem-solving, he adapted quickly, too quickly. Once, during a team navigation drill, his group finished early. Lyra overheard one of his teammates speaking. "We only made it because the human rerouted us. He spotted a pattern in the terrain." Lyra dismissed it at first. Luck, maybe, but it kept happening. Eli never took credit. He let others speak. He stayed in the background. That only made Lyra more suspicious. One evening, she sat in the Academy archives, scrolling through general data on humans. Most of it matched what she already knew. Low physical durability compared to galactic averages. No natural weapons, limited senses, short lifespans. Nothing impressive. Then she noticed several sections locked behind restricted clearance. That surprised her. Why would such a weak species have classified history? She requested access. Denied. Her irritation deepened. The next day, the Academy announced the upcoming survival evaluation. A real one. Not a simulation. Students would be placed into a controlled, hostile environment designed to test adaptability under pressure. Injuries were expected. Failure meant removal from the program. Excitement buzzed through the Academy. Fear, too. Lyra felt confident. This was what she excelled at. She glanced across the hall. Eli was reading quietly, as if nothing had changed. She shook her head. He wouldn't make it. Later that night, Eli sat alone in his assigned quarters. The room was simple, clean. He opened a small personal device and stared at an image. Earth, blue oceans, white clouds, green land. A death world, they used to call it. He remembered storms that shook buildings, animals that hunted in silence, heat, cold, hunger, fear. He remembered learning early that the world did not care if you were weak. You adapted or you broke. He closed the image. Tomorrow would be difficult. But difficulty was familiar. Far across the station, Lyra lay awake. She kept thinking about the human's eyes. They weren't empty. They weren't scared. They looked prepared. And for the first time since arriving at the Academy, Lyra Vex felt something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. The announcement echoed through the Academy in every language at once. The survival evaluation would begin in 3 days. Attendance was mandatory. Failure meant removal. Injury was expected. Withdrawal was allowed, but it would be recorded permanently. The moment the message ended, reactions spread fast. Some students laughed with confidence. Others whispered with nervous energy. A few went silent, understanding what this meant. Lyra Vex felt excitement rush through her body. This was her kind of test, a place where strength, speed, and instinct mattered more than theory. She trained harder than ever, running longer, striking faster, pushing her muscles until they burned. She was ready. She also watched Eli Carter more closely than she wanted to admit. He trained too, but differently. He didn't try to compete with the strongest students. He practiced balance drills, tool handling, and navigation simulations. He repeated failure again and again without visible frustration. When he fell, he got up. When something didn't work, he changed approach. Lyra scoffed when she saw him practicing with basic equipment. "Planning to survive with toys?" she asked one afternoon, stepping into the training area. Eli looked up, slightly surprised, then relaxed. "Tools matter," he said. "Only if you're strong enough to use them," Lyra replied. He smiled faintly. "Strength helps, but it's not everything." Lyra snorted and walked away. Inside, though, something twisted uncomfortably. The day of the evaluation arrived faster than expected. The students gathered in a massive hangar, standing in assigned groups. The instructors explained the rules. They would be dropped into a hostile environment designed to push each species beyond comfort. The terrain would change. Resources would be limited. Predators would respond to behavior patterns. Survive Adapt. Return. Lyra stood tall among her group. Eli stood quietly in his. When the transport doors closed and the floor beneath them began to lower, fear finally reached some of the students. Breathing became sharp, hands clenched. Eli closed his eyes briefly, not in fear, in focus. The drop was sudden. Light, sound, and gravity slammed into them as the transport opened above a wild alien landscape. Thick forests, jagged stone, heavy humidity. The air was breathable but dense. The ground hit hard. Lyra landed cleanly, rolling to her feet. Her instincts took over immediately. She scanned for threats. Roars echoed in the distance. The evaluation had begun. Chaos followed. Several students panicked, running without direction. One tripped and screamed as a predator burst from the undergrowth nearby. Instructors intervened before real harm could occur, but the lesson was clear. This place was not forgiving. Lyra moved with confidence, leading her group toward higher ground. She felt alive. Then she noticed something strange. Eli wasn't panicking. He was crouched low, studying the ground. "What is he doing?" someone muttered. Lyra watched as Eli picked up a handful of dirt, rubbed it between his fingers, and smelled it. He looked at broken branches, disturbed leaves, faint tracks barely visible. Then he spoke. "We shouldn't go that way," he said calmly, pointing toward a shaded path. One of his teammates laughed nervously. "Why? That's the shortest route." "That's why," Eli replied. "Something hunts there." Lyra's ears flicked. Hunters on her homeworld were obvious, loud, fast. But here? She hesitated. Against her better judgment, she signaled her group to pause and watched. Moments later, a massive shape moved in the shadows where they had planned to go. Silent, patient. Lyra's breath caught. If they had walked forward... She looked at Eli again. "How did you know?" she asked. He shrugged. "Patterns." They moved another way. As hours passed, the environment grew harsher. Heat drained energy. Water became scarce. Stronger species tired faster under constant pressure. Eli rationed supplies carefully. He suggested resting in short bursts instead of long stops. He encouraged quiet movement. One student collapsed from exhaustion. Without hesitation, Eli adjusted their load and redistributed weight so the group could move slower but steadier. Lyra watched him closely now. He wasn't leading by force. People just listened. At night, the forest became louder. Predators circled. Some students panicked at every sound. Eli stayed awake, setting simple warning signals using stones, branches, and thin cords. Nothing advanced unnoticed. Lyra approached him as he worked. "You've done this before," she said. He didn't look up. "Not this place." "But survival," she pressed. He nodded slightly. "Yes." She hesitated. "Earth isn't supposed to be like this." Eli finally met her eyes. "Who told you that?" he asked. She had no answer. Later, a sudden storm hit. Rain poured like a wall, visibility dropping to nothing. Strong winds knocked several students off their feet. Lyra struggled to stay upright. Eli lowered his center of gravity and crawled forward, anchoring a line between stable rocks. "Follow this," he shouted over the wind. They did. The storm passed, leaving the ground slick and dangerous. One wrong step could mean a fall. Lyra realized something uncomfortable. Her strength meant less here. Adaptation mattered more. The final challenge came near the extraction point. A large predator blocked the only clear path. Panic spread again. Some students prepared to fight. Eli shook his head. "Too risky." "Then what?" Lyra demanded. He scanned the area, then smiled faintly. "We wait." They waited. The predator grew restless, responding to bait Eli had quietly placed earlier using scent and sound. It moved away, following an easier target. The path cleared. When extraction finally arrived, exhaustion weighed heavy on everyone. Lyra stood near Eli as the instructors reviewed results. The human had passed, not with top physical scores, but with the highest adaptability rating. That night, Lyra returned to the archives. This time, she didn't request permission. She bypassed restrictions. What she found made her hands tremble. Earth's full classification, extreme gravity, unstable climate, constant environmental threats, apex predators on land, sea, and air, history filled with war, disaster, and survival against impossible odds. Humans weren't weak. They were forged. Lyra leaned back, breathing slowly. Her mockery echoed in her memory. For the first time, she felt shame and fear. Because if this was only a student, what were humans truly capable of? Lyra Vex did not sleep that night. The archive data stayed in her mind like a burning mark. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw images of Earth. Storms that swallowed cities, oceans that crushed with pressure, animals with teeth designed to kill, heat that burned skin, cold that froze blood. And humans had grown up there, not protected by shields, not guided by older species. They survived alone. When morning came, Lyra walked through the academy halls with slower steps. Everything felt different now. The polished floors, the calm lighting, the controlled temperature. It all felt soft. Too soft. She spotted Eli across the common area. He was sitting alone, reading again. Always reading, always calm. She watched him for a long moment. How many times had she mocked him, laughed at him, judged him without knowing anything? The shame sat heavy in her chest. She approached, but stopped a few steps away. Words felt difficult. Eli noticed her hesitation and looked up. "Do you need something?" he asked. His tone was neutral. Not cold, not friendly, just open. Lyra hesitated. I looked up Earth." Eli closed his book slowly. "Oh," he said. "I didn't know," she continued. "They don't teach us the truth, just summaries." He nodded. "That's common." She swallowed. "Why hide it?" Eli thought for a moment. "Fear, maybe, or guilt." Lyra frowned. "Guilt?" "Some species tried to classify Earth as uninhabitable," he said simply. "They were wrong." Silence stretched between them. Lyra felt something shift. Not fear this time, respect. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. Eli studied her face, searching for something. Then he nodded once. "Thank you," he said. That was all. Over the next days, Lyra paid attention differently. She noticed how Eli listened more than he spoke, how he watched exits when entering a room, how he positioned himself so he could see everyone at once. These were not habits of weakness, they were habits of survival. During tactical classes, scenarios grew more complex. Instructors introduced ethical stress tests, limited resources, impossible choices. Many students struggled. Eli adapted. When a simulation forced teams to choose between saving supplies or injured members, arguments broke out. Eli spoke calmly. "We don't abandon people," he said, "but we don't waste energy either. We carry only what keeps everyone moving." "How do you decide?" someone snapped. "By asking who can walk tomorrow," Eli replied. Cold logic, but fair. The team followed him. Lyra watched as the instructor quietly increased the difficulty. Human adaptability, she realized, wasn't loud. It was relentless. Later that week, the academy hosted a cultural exchange session. Students were asked to present something from their home worlds. Lyra presented her species' combat traditions, strength, honor, victory. The room applauded. Then it was Eli's turn. He hesitated before stepping forward. "I don't have much," he said. A screen behind him lit up. Earth appeared again. But this time, it wasn't storms or disasters. It was people. Humans working together after floods, sharing food during famine, rebuilding after destruction. laughing even when things were hard. "We don't survive alone," Eli said. "That's our strength." The room went quiet. Lyra felt something tighten in her throat. After the session, whispers spread, not mocking ones, curious ones, respectful ones, but not everyone approved. A group of high-ranking students from dominant species began pushing back. They questioned Eli openly, challenged his ideas, tested his limits. During one training exercise, they excluded him deliberately. The simulation collapsed without his input. The instructor ended it early. "Adaptation requires cooperation," the instructor said. "Failure to do so is noted." The message was clear. Later that day, Lyra found Eli in the observation deck, staring at the stars. "You could report them," she said. He shook his head. "They're afraid." "Of you?" she asked. "Of change," he replied. Lyra leaned beside him. "You don't act like someone who's been underestimated his whole life." He smiled faintly. "That's because I have." She studied him. "What was Earth like for you?" He was quiet for a long time. "Loud," he said. "Unpredictable, beautiful, dangerous." "That sounds terrifying," she whispered. "It was," Eli said. But it was home. The academy alarms suddenly rang. This was not scheduled. Students froze. An announcement followed, sharp and urgent. A system malfunction had triggered partial station lockdown. Training areas were sealed incorrectly. Several groups were trapped. This was not a drill. Panic spread fast. Lyra's instincts screamed to act, but confusion reigned. Eli moved immediately. "Where are the trapped zones?" he asked an instructor. The instructor hesitated, then answered. Eli nodded. "They'll run out of air first." "How do you know?" Lyra asked. "Math," he said. He began organizing students, assigning roles, clearing paths, redirecting power manually where automated systems failed. Lyra followed without thinking. Others did too. When a sealed door refused to open, stronger students tried to force it. It didn't move. Eli rerouted pressure systems, equalized the lock, and opened it safely. Inside, frightened students stared at him like he was something new, something unexpected. The crisis lasted less than an hour. No one was lost. Afterward, instructors reviewed logs. One name appeared again and again: Eli Carter. Lyra stood beside him as the crowd slowly dispersed. "You didn't hesitate," she said. "People needed help," he replied. "That's it?" she asked. He met her eyes. "That's always it." That night, Lyra returned to the archives again. This time she didn't feel fear. She felt understanding. Earth was not a weak world. It was a forge, and humans were its proof. Far away, Eli sat in his room, staring once more at the image of Earth. For the first time since arriving at the academy, he felt something unexpected. He wasn't alone anymore. The academy did not return to normal after the lockdown incident. Official statements called it a rare systems failure, quickly resolved. Classes resumed. Lights stayed bright. The station continued to orbit peacefully above the gas giant. But something had changed. Security patrols doubled. Certain corridors were restricted. Instructors spoke more quietly. And deep in the station's core, systems ran constant diagnostics. Eli noticed all of it. He had learned long ago that danger often came before announcements. Lyra noticed it too, but she trusted Eli's instincts now. She walked beside him through the central hall, watching how other students reacted. Many laughed it off, proud that nothing serious had happened. Humans, Eli thought, would never laugh yet. During a tactical lecture, the instructor paused mid-sentence as his console flickered. A warning symbol flashed for half a second, then vanished. Eli's eyes narrowed. After class, he approached the instructor quietly. "Sir," he said, "was that a power fluctuation?" The instructor hesitated before answering. "It was, Nothing you need to worry about. Eli nodded, but worry settled deeper. That night, the alarm screamed again. This time, they did not stop. Red emergency lights flooded the halls. Gravity shifted slightly, just enough to throw people off balance. A deep vibration passed through the station like a slow heartbeat. Lyra grabbed a railing as students shouted in confusion. An announcement followed, stripped of calm. "Attention all personnel! External contact detected. Station integrity compromised. This is not a drill." Panic exploded. Students ran. Some froze. Others screamed orders that no one followed. Eli moved. "Lyra," he said sharply, "stay with me." She did not argue. Explosions did not tear the station apart, but something far worse happened. Systems failed in sections, doors sealed at random, air pressure dropped in lower levels. The enemy was not loud, it was precise. Unknown vessels had latched onto the Academy station, bypassing shields using technology no one recognized. They were not destroying the station, they were harvesting it. Power, data, life support. Instructors tried to regain control, but command channels were jammed. Automated defenses failed to target the attackers correctly. Species used to overwhelming force suddenly had none. Fear spread faster than fire. Eli pulled up a local map on a wall panel. "They're not here to fight," he said. "They're here to drain." Lyra stared at the display. "Can you tell where they'll strike next?" "Yes," Eli replied, "where panic is highest." "How do you know?" she asked. "Because that's where systems overload," he said. "And people make mistakes." A group of students ran past them toward sealed transport bays. "That area will lose air first," Eli said. "We need to redirect them." Lyra hesitated. "Who will listen?" Eli stepped forward, raising his voice. "Stop running," he called out. Several students ignored him. He changed tactics. "If you keep going, you'll suffocate," he said loudly. "Follow me if you want to live." That word cut through the noise. Live. They stopped. They followed. Eli led them through maintenance corridors, using routes meant only for engineers. He sealed doors behind them, slowed the spread of pressure loss, and rerouted emergency oxygen manually. Lyra worked beside him, stronger hands moving debris, faster reflexes handling sudden failures. They were different, but together, they worked. In the command sector, senior instructors struggled to understand the attackers. Weapons did nothing. Communication failed. Then Eli arrived. "This station is thinking like a fortress," he said. "It needs to think like prey." Silence followed. "You don't hide from predators by standing still," he continued. "You confuse them, waste their energy." Some instructors bristled. One asked sharply, "And you know this how?" Eli met his gaze. "Because that's how Earth survived." He explained quickly. "Shut down non-essential systems to create false dead zones. Redirect power in bursts to overload harvesting lines. Force the attackers to choose between targets. Make them adapt. Predators hate adapting. Against all tradition, the instructors listened. The station changed. Lights flickered in controlled patterns. Data streams flooded, then vanished. Entire sections appeared empty, then active again. The external vessels reacted slowly. They made mistakes. One lost its grip, then another. But the enemy responded. A boarding unit breached the outer ring, not soldiers, machines, cold, silent, efficient. They moved through corridors without hesitation. Students panicked again. Eli did not. "They don't think like us," he said. "That's good." He led a small group, including Lyra, into a narrow junction. "Why here?" she asked. "Because humans learned long ago," Eli said, "that you don't fight stronger enemies head on." He triggered emergency foam, hardening the floor unevenly. He redirected lighting to create sharp contrasts. He used sound echoes to confuse sensor readings. When the machines entered, they slowed. That hesitation was enough. Doors slammed shut. Pressure dropped briefly. Systems surged. The machines shut down. Lyra stared at the silent forms. "You beat them," she whispered. "No," Eli said. "We survived them." The attackers began to withdraw, not defeated, but frustrated. Their vessels detached one by one, leaving behind damaged systems and shaken confidence. When silence finally returned, it felt unreal. The academy was alive, injured, shaken, but alive. Instructors gathered survivors in the central hall. Medical teams worked quietly. Fear slowly turned into relief. Then into realization. The official report was clear. Without human intervention, the station would have been lost. Lyra stood beside Eli as students looked at him differently now, not as weak, not as strange, but as something dangerous in a new way, adaptable, enduring. One instructor approached. "Eli Carter," he said carefully, "your actions saved thousands." Eli nodded once. "It wasn't just me." "But it was human thinking," the instructor said. Lyra felt pride swell in her chest. That night, as the academy drifted quietly again, Lyra stood alone at the observation window. She remembered her mockery, her certainty, her belief in strength alone. She had been wrong. Eli joined her. "They'll remember this," she said. He looked at the stars. "So will we." "What happens now?" she asked. Eli's expression grew serious. "Now," he said, "the galaxy starts paying attention." And far away, beyond known space, something else noticed too. Humanity. Not as prey, but as a variable that refused to break. The academy took a long time to heal. Repairs continued day and night. Damaged corridors were sealed, then rebuilt stronger than before. Systems were redesigned, not just repaired. Security protocols were rewritten from the ground up, and at the center of many of those changes was one quiet human student. Eli Carter did not ask for recognition. He returned to classes when they resumed, took his seat near the back, and continued reading as he always had. But the academy was no longer the same place. Neither was he. Students no longer laughed when he entered a room. Conversations lowered instead. Some watched with curiosity, others with respect. A few with unease. Lyra Vex noticed everything. She had changed, too. Where she once walked with pride, she now walked with awareness. Strength still mattered to her, but it was no longer the only measure she trusted. She trained differently now, not just harder, but smarter. And often, she trained with Eli. They did not talk much during these sessions. They did not need to. Lyra learned by watching. Eli learned by adjusting. They pushed each other without competition. One afternoon, an official announcement echoed through the academy. All senior students were ordered to attend a mandatory assembly. The central hall filled quickly. Instructors stood in formal ranks. Representatives from several galactic councils appeared via hologram, their images towering over the crowd. This was not normal. Lyra felt tension coil in her chest. Eli sat quietly beside her. The lead council representative spoke at last. "Recent events at this academy," the voice said, "have forced a re-evaluation of several long-held assumptions." Images appeared behind them. Data streams. Footage from the attack. Tactical breakdowns. Survival timelines. One statistic stood out. Without human-led adaptation, survival probability had dropped below 12%. A ripple moved through the hall. "Humanity," the representative continued, "has long been classified as a minor species. This classification is no longer accurate." Lyra felt her breath catch. Eli did not react. "Humans demonstrate extreme adaptability under stress," the voice said. "They show high cooperation, rapid learning, and an unusual tolerance for uncertainty." A pause. "Effective immediately. Humanity will be reclassified as a strategic species." Silence followed, then noise, Whispers, shock, confusion. Some students looked proud, others looked afraid. Lyra turned to Eli. "You hear that?" she whispered. He nodded. "Yes." "You don't seem surprised," she said. "I hoped," he replied. "I didn't expect." After the assembly, Eli was summoned privately. Lyra waited outside the chamber, tail flicking nervously. Minutes passed, then an hour. When Eli finally emerged, his expression was calm but tired. "They offered you something," Lyra said. It wasn't a question. "Yes," he replied. "What kind of something?" she asked. "A future," Eli said. "One where humans help shape decisions." Lyra felt pride swell again. "You deserve that." He looked at her. "We do." The days that followed were strange. Humans were suddenly everywhere in the Academy's discussions. Their history, once hidden, was now studied openly. Earth was no longer called a weak world. It was called a forge. Lyra attended one such lecture. Earth's climate instability, its predators, its long history of conflict and recovery. The instructor spoke with careful respect. "This species," he said, "did not evolve to dominate. It evolved to endure." Lyra understood now. Eli understood long ago. One evening, Lyra stood again at the observation window. The gas giant below glowed softly, peaceful and distant. Eli joined her. "I used to think strength was about power," she said quietly. "About being unbreakable." Eli watched the stars. "Strength can be loud," he said, "but survival is quiet." She nodded. "I mocked you." He met her eyes. "You learned." "That doesn't erase it," she said. "No," Eli agreed, "but it changes what comes next." Lyra took a breath. "What comes next for you?" He thought for a long time. "Humans are going to be noticed now," he said. "Not all of it will be good." "You'll be ready," she said. He smiled faintly. "So will you." Weeks later, the Academy hosted its first mixed-species command exercise since the attack. Humans were not observers this time. They were leaders. Eli was assigned a team made up of species once considered far stronger than him. No one argued. The simulation was brutal. Limited resources, conflicting goals, no clear enemy. Eli did not rush. He listened. He adapted. When the simulation ended, his team had not just survived, they had protected everyone. The instructors watched in silence. The lesson was clear. Humanity did not win by conquering. It won by refusing to give up on each other. Lyra found herself standing beside Eli again as students slowly left the training hall. "The galaxy will change," she said. "It always does," Eli replied. "But this time," she said, "it will change because of you." He shook his head gently. "Because of us." Far beyond the Academy, the news spread. Human ships were invited to councils once closed to them. Human advisors were requested in crisis zones. Human survival experts were studied, sometimes copied, never fully understood. Some species welcomed this. Others feared it. But none ignored it. On Earth, people watched distant stars with quiet pride. They did not cheer loudly. They simply nodded, knowing what it had taken to get here. Survival had never been easy. It had just been necessary. Back at the Academy, Lyra Vex stood before a group of new students months later. Among them were humans, small, quiet, watching. She spoke clearly. "Strength is not about who hits hardest," she said. "It's about who stands back up." Her eyes met Eli's across the room. He nodded once. The lesson had come full circle. Humanity had not arrived in the galaxy to rule it. It had arrived to endure it. And that, the galaxy was beginning to understand, was far more dangerous.